to episode 168 of the Various and Sundry podcast. I am your host, Matt Harmon, joined live from our virtual studio on the beautiful internet. And my good friend, my colleague, my co-host, and the man who is so committed to the show, he's joining us from the Hampton Inn, John Scott Sloat.
The luxurious Hampton Inn, Matt. The luxurious Hampton Inn.
Yeah.
In Bedford, Pennsylvania.
The thriving vacation destination of Bedford, Pennsylvania.
Yep, it's got a Wendy's, a Hampton Inn, and a Sheetz.
Whoa.
And a Haas's. You been to a Haas's ever?
No, what's that?
It's like a low end steakhouse.
Okay.
That kind of occupies the middle of PA.
All right. And so, did you dine there this fine evening?
No, I just pulled into the hotel and grabbed a bag of Wendy's food and thought I need the pod. I need to record some pod.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, you are living the dream, John. Spending the night in a Hampton Inn, eating a bag of Wendy's, recording a podcast that reaches dozens of people.
This is the life I lead. You know, I didn't choose this life. It chose me.
It did. Yes. So, well, let's do our standard here. If you want to get in contact with the show, you can find us on Twitter at VNSPod. Email the show, variousandsundarypodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and on YouTube. And as always, we invite you to leave us a 5-star rating and a review on whatever platform you join us through. So, all right, John, let's jump right into the sports because it's a busy weekend, or past week actually, where we've had a lot going on.
Oh, yeah.
The place to start, obviously, is the March Madness NCAA men's basketball tournament. It has lived up to its reputation for madness. How much tournament action did you catch?
Maybe, I think I did about 12 hours of basketball watching over the weekend, 12 to 15 hours.
Wow.
I did a fair amount of basketball watching.
That's a stunning amount for you, John.
Yeah, I did a fair amount, and mostly with my wife. My wife, for the most part, was by my side watching basketball with me.
Now, was she reading a book at the same time, or
she was not? So we were in Columbus, Ohio, visiting her grandparents, and at both sets of grandparents' house, they had it on all day.
Yeah,
it was great.
Well, it was quite the first weekend. We saw something that had only happened once before in the history of the tournament: a 16 seed beating a 1 seed. Fairleigh Dickinson beating Purdue. I can't say as I'm like utterly and completely shocked, given that Purdue was struggling down the stretch, but I am still surprised, obviously. Did you watch any of that?
Yeah, I'm surprised their big guy didn't get many touches in the last 9 minutes of the game. So their big Goliath character.
Yeah, Zach Edey.
No field goals attempted in the last 9 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, Purdue's big weakness has been their inconsistent guard play. They have 2 true freshmen playing guard, both Indiana kids, but inexperience in the backcourt can be a killer, and it was for them. And then the other big upset in the first round was Princeton beating Arizona.
And then Princeton went on to win another game.
Yes, made it to the Sweet 16. So the Ivy League representing there. And then probably the other big takeaway was number 1 Kansas losing to 8 seed Arkansas in the second round. It's just so wide open this year. It'll be interesting to see what happens from here. But I think those were the big takeaways. I don't have this down here on the rundown, but did you, surely at least you saw highlights of the end of the Furman, Virginia game?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, that was just stunning. I wish I'd seen it live. I didn't, but I saw the highlights where,
Go ahead.
Virginia's up up 2. No, up 4 late. And Furman goes down, gets a bucket. There's like 12 seconds left. And Virginia is up 2. They have to inbound the ball. They inbound the ball to one of their senior guards. So this is not like some, freshman. This is a senior. They trap him in the corner, and they have a timeout. But he doesn't call a timeout. He just literally over his head chucks the ball towards the other end of the floor, right into the arms of a Furman player, who then advances the ball up to a teammate who hits a 3 to win the game, basically. I mean, just one of those bizarre scenarios where like, this is out of Hollywood. Like, this wouldn't really happen.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it does.
What doesn't it feel like, in a way, with Fairleigh Dickinson beating Purdue, that the real winner of that game was Virginia? Right. To no longer to be the lone team to be beaten by a 16 seed.
Yeah, for sure. So that does, that does help the reputation, I suppose, to say, okay, now there's been another one. We're not the only team in NCAA history to lose to a 16. So yeah, I suppose you could look at it that way. That's the positive spin for Virginia there.
And I am the optimist of the pod.
You are the resident optimist of the podcast. Yes.
What did you make of Arkansas's coach ripping his shirt off after the win over Kansas? Was that appropriate? Was it not appropriate?
There's only one right answer to that question, and it is absolutely not appropriate. I mean, come on. Now, in fairness, it's not like he was like some hideous, oversized man who, you know, but still, I'm sorry. I don't want to see my coaches ripping off their shirts after a big win.
Well, and clearly displaying the fact that he had done some maintenance, right? Like he had cleaned up some hair on the body for sure. Like it was like he was preparing for it.
Yeah.
Now I understand it was a big win for them, but what happens? Does he do it again after that? If they win again, does he do it again?
I don't know.
You almost have to.
I mean, maybe you save it if you make the Final Four. So maybe like if skip a game if you win it, and then if you win the next one.
Well, if he wins the national title, I mean, I think he's got a streak. Like I think that's next.
I'm terrified that he might go another level, and then we're all in trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, it was funny because the reporter was trying to like start the interview, and he was still like putting his shirt back on for the interview after the game.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a female reporter too, which makes it really awkward.
Well, and I think I'm okay with my athletes doing that, after they win a big game or a championship.
Yeah.
The coach, it was just weird. Weird.
Bizarre. Well, we should probably look at the standings for the podcast bracket competition. Have you looked at them today since or since the second round concluded?
I just pulled them up, so I'm just looking at them fresh.
All right. So, well, let's first of all indicate where you and I are in the standings here. So,
scroll to the bottom. All right.
Yes, keep going. Okay, there we have. You are in 21st place.
Tied for 21st,
yes. Yes. And I, not to be outdone, am tied for 28th.
Mm-hmm. Now, we both still have our champion alive.
That is true.
Which is true. Better than many, if not most.
Most in the bracket, yeah. So I should also point out that my wife is in 13th place. So a solid showing by her.
Yep.
But let's get to the top here. In first is Joseph. His bracket name is @JoeyBagOfDonuts. Do you know who this is? Joey
Bag of Donuts is or at least it used to be, a food at Moe's. That used to be one of the dishes at Moe's Southwest Grill.
Okay.
Which is, I'm sure, a reference to a TV show of some kind, but I don't know it. But I do not know who that is.
Okay, I'm not sure. I don't know either. In second, there's a five-way tie for second. We've got Jacob. The bracket name is the VIP room.
Oh, he's a sophomore at Grace. I believe he's in Greek right now.
Yes, I think that's who that is. Yes,
I think so.
Also in second, my son John. Solid show.
Nice work.
Yeah.
No H. Proud of you.
Yeah. Also, Lee's legit bracket.
I think that's Milford Lee.
Yes, I think so. And Stainer in second place as well.
We know who that is.
You know who that is, yeah. And also James, and it's James's Victorious Bracket. Is that the title of that?
I think that's one of those. Yahoo gives it to him. Gives him that name.
I think that's Jim in Indy. Jim in Indiana.
Oh, is it?
I think so, based on the picture there.
Oh, okay. I don't see a picture with it.
Mine's got a picture. So I think that's who that is.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah, that's Jim in Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah, faithful listener to the program.
Mr. Smith.
Yes, faithful listener to the program.
Doing quite well.
Good for him.
Now, I will say 3 of those second place teams have lost their champion.
Yeah, there's some trouble on the horizon there.
So a lot of Purdue, a lot of Arizona champions in there.
Yeah. So we'll see how things shake out. I mean, the big points are still in front if you've got teams left. You start to get teams advancing further and further, and that's where you start to rack up the points.
How many Final Four teams do you have left?
I have 1.
Ooh,
it's my it's my champion though.
Sure. I have 3. I still have 3 left.
Yeah, yesterday was killer because I lost two of my Final Four teams. I lost TCU and I lost Baylor.
Okay. Wow, really going with Texas there.
Yeah. Well, Houston is my remaining.
You had. Was that intentional? Were you just very pro Texas?
It just kind of got there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to break down the psychology of that sometime, but maybe for another pod.
Yeah. Maybe a pod that will never be recorded. Okay.
Yeah.
So we should probably just mention briefly NBA coming down to the wire here. There's like 10 games left in the season for most teams.
Yeah.
And so your Knicks are still in 5th. Cavaliers are in 4th. And then out in the Western Conference, you've got just a major sort of mashup of teams within like a game of each other. So, the gap between 4th, well, let's put it this way. The gap between 6th and 6th and 12th is 2 games. So still a lot that can happen there.
And the Lakers have snuck their way, if the season ended today, into the playoffs.
Yeah, they'd be in the play-in tournament. They're currently the 10 seed. Tied in terms of in terms of record with the Timberwolves, but apparently the Timberwolves have a tiebreaker over them. And the Jazz are tied with them in terms of games back, but they've played 2 less games. So be interesting to see how that develops. But you want to say anything briefly about Spring Training World Baseball Classic?
Well, probably the biggest thing is the injuries that have happened at the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
So Edwin Diaz, the Mets' new I can't remember how much we paid him. I think $12 million a year closer.
Okay.
Celebrating Puerto Rico's win, tore an ACL.
You gotta love these celebration injuries.
Yeah, and he's out the whole season now. And
nice.
Then Jose Altuve for Venezuela, the second baseman of the Astros, broke a finger
Okay.
and is going to miss some significant time.
Yeah.
So that seems to be the big takeaway from the World Baseball Classic. I'm not even sure who. I'm not even sure. I think the United States is doing well and is still in it. But beyond that, I don't know much of what's going on.
Okay. We should also note that the Jets have named a new general manager. You may have heard of his name, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Former quarterback, or soon to be former quarterback for the Green Bay Packers.
That's snarky Matthew Harmon after dark.
Do you deny that?
I think it's like I don't think he gave them a list of demands. I think it was a list of just like, hey, here's some guys I like. I think that was more the tone of the ask. I don't think it was like I need these 4 guys in order to be in New York. I think it was like, hey, these are guys that I've enjoyed playing with and would very much like to have. But I don't think it was a demand.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that all develops. Because despite all of that, he has not officially signed with the Jets.
No, there has been no trade, although everybody's assuming it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
And the pessimist inside me is just, I don't know. It's
tricky to trade a guy when he is like, it's hard to get a lot of value back. As great as Aaron Rodgers is, but I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably going to happen, but
yeah, I think the question is there a first round pick or is it not? I think that's the big matzo ball that's out there.
Yeah. Last sports note, Grace made it to the Elite Eight in the NAIA tournament before losing to Georgetown College out of Kentucky. So a great season for them, ending in the Elite Eight. And a little disappointing just in the sense that I think they had a legit chance to maybe win it all or at least make it to the title game. So, but still a fantastic season for them.
And then I looked up the World Baseball Classic. The United States is in the championship game against a team to be named later Tuesday night. So it's either going to be Mexico or Japan. Okay. Mexico and Japan have to battle it out to see who faces the United States in the championship of the World Baseball Classic.
At first there it sounded like a trade, right?
Yeah.
And for a player to be named later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's a lot of sports. We should probably move on to our main topic. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Our main topic for today is AI, or artificial intelligence. And in particular, we're going to talk about ChatGPT. So this is something that is probably a little bit more on our radar, being in an academic context than maybe in some other people's radar. But before we get to the specifics of ChatGPT, let's talk in general about AI, or artificial intelligence. John, when you hear that term, what comes to mind first?
I mean, probably most naturally just a sci-fi movie where the machines rise up and want to overthrow humankind, and the Matrix at some level comes up, or
the Terminator.
Movies like that where the machines sort of take over and we're helpless. Out at the beast we've created.
Right. Yeah. So, in particular, though, I mean, there's obviously artificial intelligence is a very wide-ranging topic, and neither of us are even remotely qualified to really talk knowledgeably about it in broad strokes. But one area that I think we can speak to is this recent tool that's been put out called ChatGPT, and I'm just going to read for you here an explanation. Of course, this is very technical, so we'll have to put it into understandable human terms, right? ChatGPT is a conversational language model developed by OpenAI. It is a variant of the GPT-3 language model that is specifically designed to handle a wide range of conversational tasks, such as generating responses to user input in a chat-like environment.
So, if I understand that correctly, ChatGPT is free on the internet
Yes.
somewhere. I have not gone and played with it, but you have.
I have, yes.
And as I understand it, basically, there's like you can give it a prompt like, goodness, write me 4 paragraphs about the founding of the United States.
Yep.
And it would produce 4 paragraphs about the founding of the United States. Is that kind of the gist?
Yes. Yes. So, and it writes it in a way that is, it's not going to be the best written style you've ever come across, but it sounds like a human being basically wrote it. Maybe not the most flowing style, but it's yeah. So it's one of those things where you feed it a prompt, and it then responds back with whatever information you're asking for. So Joe Carter over at Gospel Coalition wrote an article kind of summarizing. He's built up his own little cottage industry of things you should know about, and then fill in the blank. And as a result, he wrote one on artificial intelligence and ChatGPT. The article is How an AI Chatbot May Affect Gospel-Centered Ministry. And so that's the angle that he is interested in. So I want to start there, and then we'll circle back to the academic end of things, because that's more where you and I kind of operate, so to speak. So a couple of quotes from this. AI algorithms can be used to personalize and target digital evangelism efforts, reaching people with tailored messages and resources based on their specific interests and needs. AI can also help analyze and interpret data from evangelism efforts, providing insights and feedback to help improve the effectiveness of gospel-centered ministry. That's one quote from the article.
Okay.
Second quote. In the near future, AI will provide greater access to religious content and resources, as well as aiding in pastoral activities. AI can parse religious texts and identify trends, allowing pastors to target their sermons for maximum impact. AI may also be useful in gathering insights from sermons or helping prepare homilies, as well as providing personalized advice and counseling to churchgoers. So there's 2 quotes.
Yep.
And then you get almost to the end of the article, and then Joe Carter admits, of the 541 words in this article so far, 455 were written by ChatGPT.
And he just went back and lightly edited? Is that kind of the implication
I think so.
there?
Yes. Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because that sounds like a reasonable few sentences. Like, I'd want to parse them apart a little bit more, have a little bit more conversation, right? What does that really mean?
Yeah.
But that sounds kind of like Joe Carter wrote it. Now, that may say more about Joe Carter than it does ChatGPT. But that's just wild.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think the big thing where this comes into play in our world, obviously, is within the academy and the ability of students to potentially use something like this to generate a paper.
Yeah. Horrifying.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely horrifying.
So I've sat in at least a few meetings now at Grace, talking through how do we address this? What do we do about it? And one of the big issues currently is that so there's a service that a lot of schools use called Turnitin, and it's a plagiarism checker.
It's marvelous, absolutely marvelous.
Yeah, so it analyzes a student's paper, and then it highlights potential areas where a student has plagiarized or has similar content to a source. And it's admittedly a blunt instrument because, if two student papers have the same quote from the same source, it'll highlight that. And so it gives you a percentage. So, it might say, oh gosh, 30% of this paper is, unoriginal material. But then you go and look and you're like, oh, it's because they used a quote here, or they quoted this Bible verse or things like that. So it's a bit of a blunt instrument, but it's a good starting point for you as a professor to be able to say, let me look at this a little bit more closely. Oh, that's not really plagiarism, or, oh yeah, that is actually plagiarism.
And it will not just search other papers that have been turned in your class. It will search a good chunk of the internet.
Yeah.
And it will search papers that are really anywhere in the database, in the Turnitin database.
Yes.
Even at other institutions.
Correct.
Which is really, really helpful.
Yeah. Now, of course, the problem is currently the Turnitin service is not capable of detecting the use of AI-generated content like that produced by ChatGPT. That's a little scary.
That's real scary. I mean, I've talked to some professors who are like, I'm pretty sure somebody had used it to turn in a paper, but professors can't be sure that they cheated.
Right. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Now, I did read a post that Turnitin is working on the ability to actually detect AI-generated content. And they're optimistic that they're onto something. So we'll see.
Okay.
But inevitably, it's like the cops are always a few steps behind the criminals, right?
Absolutely.
And so even if Turnitin comes up with something, inevitably people are going to find ways to get around it. But John, can you see any legitimate uses of this, even in an academic context?
Oh goodness! I mean, people try to talk about them. I think academics are initially go like, "Oh my gosh, this is the worst," right?
Yep.
And then there's the contrarian academics that go, "Actually, this is great, and here's 7 ways that you need to use it." No, I think generally I think it's pretty bad for academics.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't see a positive side to this. Maybe in like solving writer's block on a paper, like if I was stuck, getting, hey, give me a paragraph on this, and it gave you a paragraph, and you're like, well, I like this, I don't like this, and you can massage it and work it enough to make it your own. Might be a legitimate use of it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I really struggle to see a legitimate use of it. Do you see one?
Well, a legitimate academic use is one thing, but I can envision using this kind of like you might use Wikipedia, meaning you know nothing about something. So you go to Wikipedia and you're like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
And you skim through and you're like, okay, I have a general sense of what that is now. Oh, and look at that. There's some sources at the bottom of the page. Let me click on that link and see if that's something that's reputable or something like that. I could see ChatGPT working perhaps in a similar vein, where if I had a question about something that was completely not in my field and was just wondering, what is that? To be able to say, to type into an AI generator, summarize what blank is, or something like that. That could be helpful potentially.
Yeah, I'd probably explain it to me like I'm 5.
Right. But, and here's something that I think needs to be stressed. ChatGPT gets a lot of things wrong.
Yeah, you have a pretty good story about this.
Well, I played around with it again before we recorded here tonight, and so first of all, I asked it to write. My first prompt was write an essay summarizing the key themes in 2 Peter and Jude, citing the work of Matthew S. Harmon. Okay.
Okay. You have works on 2 Peter and Jude.
I do. I have a commentary out and I have a theology out. So, and it did give a decent summary. And the second time I ran the prompt, it did say in his book a commentary on 2 Peter and Jude, which I'm like, well, sort of. The first time I ran the prompt, though, it said it had this line in it. According to Matthew S. Harmon, a theologian and author of, quote, 2 Peter and Jude, a 12-week study, the following are some of the key themes in both books. I did not write a book, a 12-week study on 2 Peter and Jude. I did not.
It made up a publication for you?
Yes.
So do you get to count that now in like your list of public? Does that go in the CV?
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. So then I tweaked it again. I said, write me an essay summarizing the key themes in 2 Peter and Jude with at least 5 citations from the work of Matthew S. Harmon. I'm going to make it work a little harder.
Yeah.
So then it does give a quote. True knowledge of God is inseparably linked with both knowing God and being transformed into his likeness. I might have said that. I haven't had the time to go track that down. What's interesting is it puts in parentheses Harmon and then the year 2015, which is not any date.
That's not right.
That's not right. And it gives a page number. So I'm curious. I think that might just be made up. So then I asked it to write an essay on the theme of sin and exile in the Bible, which is something else I've written on.
Yep. You have a book on that?
Yep. With at least 5 citations from the work of Matthew S. Harmon. And it summarizes stuff. And I'm like, well, maybe I sort of kind of said that, but not really. And then it again says that I wrote the book in 2018, which is not true. I wrote it in 2020. And I'm confident that the quote they gave me is not on that page, if it even is a legitimate quote.
Have you copied the quote and put it into Google to see where it may be getting that quote from?
I haven't.
That would be that'd be fascinating. It was like N.T. Wright or
yeah,
James Dunn or some guy that is very much not you.
Yeah. Well, I just refreshed it and it's writing a new prompt on the Sin and Exile one. Let's see here. Matthew S. Harmon, in his book Sin and Exile, Reflections on the Prohibition of the Tree of Life. I definitely did not write a book entitled.
Oh, that's funny.
So it's like literally making stuff up as it's going.
It clearly doesn't follow the 10 Commandments,
Yes. So, fascinating that it just makes stuff up. And so,
wow.
I do know that one of the things that we have talked about in the meetings I've been in is figuring out ways to craft like a prompt in terms of like a paper prompt that makes it incredibly difficult for something like ChatGPT to actually generate content that is relevant.
Don't you think one of the solutions to this is Blue Book Finals?
Maybe.
Right. And for listeners probably younger than me out there, a Blue Book Final was you come in, you get a paperback blue book that's just lined pages.
Yep.
And the professor puts a prompt on the board and you hand write an essay about that prompt, displaying your knowledge that you've learned in the course, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
They were horrifying when I was in school.
Yeah.
Did you have any of those when you were in school?
Oh yeah. That was the norm.
Yeah, that feels like one way to get around ChatGPT is just give the students hammer and chisel and let them go nuts.
Yeah. Well, this will continue to be an area that is expanding and growing, and believers need to be thinking about it. We've got a link to the article by Joe Carter. I've also left in the 2 books by John Dyer that we mentioned last week in our episode that are in the show notes, and added 2 more. 2 by Tony Reinke, who is a very good Christian thinker and writer on the areas of technology. He wrote a book entitled, I've got 2 listed here, Competing Spectacles, Treasuring Christ in the Media Age. And then his most recent book on this subject, much thicker, God, Technology, and the Christian Life. So broader than the AI conversation. But those could be some helpful resources. It's also possible that you're going to see pastors start to just, write a sermon on Romans 9 and then, just sort of say, go. And they kind of take what's there and tweak it and run with it.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen prompts where it's like, give me a 3-minute devotional in the style of John Piper or something like that. And it's kind of looks like John Piper would have wrote that,
Yeah, for sure. So this will be an area we have to continue to kind of monitor and think about and reflect on. And this is where, again, as leaders in the church, we need to be proactive in helping people think about technology, not just as a neutral tool, but ultimately something that anytime you use a form of technology, it ends up shaping you. It ends up transforming you in some way.
That gets back to that Amusing Ourselves to Death book by Neil Postman.
There you go.
That's so good.
There you go. All right, we should probably move on. You ready?
Yep.
Time now for This Day in Sports History.
Okay, this day in sports history, March 21st. Is that spring? Are we in spring?
I don't know.
I think March 21st is the first day of spring.
Let's ask our trusty Google here. Should I ask ChatGPT?
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's today. We're recording March 20th. Today is the first day of
spring.
spring.
Well, happy spring, everyone. The sun was out today, at least where I was, and was quite lovely. All right, so March 21st, 2023. In 1959 on this day, the 21st NCAA Men's Basketball Championship, California beats West Virginia 71-70. Close game. West Virginia future Hall of Fame point guard Jerry West named MVP.
MOP.
Oh, that's not a typo.
It's not a typo.
Most opportunistic player?
Most outstanding.
Most outstanding.
Yes, he was the mop.
He was the mop. Okay. All right. So that's Jerry West, the logo. One of my faves. 1961, Art Modell purchases the Cleveland Browns for the record sum of $3,925,000.
Yeah.
Nearly $4 million.
Yeah. His name is dirt now in the Cleveland area since he moved what was then the Browns to the city of Baltimore, and they became the Ravens there.
Yeah. Well, we're not supposed to bring that up, as Nate in Ohio has told me many times.
Just a simple historical statement.
Okay. 1964, the 26th NCAA Men's Basketball Championship, UCLA beats Duke 98-83, a shellacking. Bruins first title game, undefeated season, 30-0.
Yep, that was the start of their long run with John Wooden.
Yes, a very great basketball legacy there at UCLA. 1970, Victor Bogataj crashes during a ski jumping championship in Germany. His image becomes that of agony of defeat guy in the opening credits of ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Do you remember? You might be too young.
I don't remember any of that.
Ugh. So ABC had this show, Wide World of Sports, where they'd kind of do these little vignettes on kind of more off the radar, the non-major sports in the U.S., right? So, things that were kind of lead ups to Olympic events and that kind of thing. And as part of their intro, they had sports clips going as the voiceover and music were saying, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And it shows this guy, you should Google it, of him going down a ski jump and like wiping out and just flying off the ski jump. Looked brutal. Brutal.
Goodness. Poor Vinko. 2017, on March 21st, Japanese baseball right fielder Ichiro Suzuki finishes his career with a record 4,367 stolen or bases hit. That's both in the Japanese League and the majors. As the Seattle Mariners beat the Oakland A's 5-4 in Tokyo, Japan.
Yeah, so he had actually a decent sized career before playing in the majors here in the United States.
Yeah. He was really the first guy to have he batted left-handed, and he would slap the ball to third.
Mm-hmm.
Like a ground ball. He was just so fast, he would beat out the throw to first.
Yeah.
He was good. He was a lot of fun to watch.
Yes, indeed. So, who do you like, John?
Oh my goodness. My goodness.
I think there's a right answer here.
There is.
Yeah.
Is it Ichiro Suzuki retiring?
No,
it's not.
I mean,
my goodness.
I want to go with Vinko.
Oh! Just to get his name in the title. Yeah. How do you pronounce that last name there?
I would say probably Bogataj. I think that J probably has a Y sound, is my guess. But
you don't like my Bogataji, or?
Well, that's just probably not right. So
yeah, let's go Vinko.
All right, Vinko it is. One thing you liked.
All right, so this weekend, Andrea and I enjoyed watching basketball all weekend with her grandparents, as I mentioned earlier. It was a great time to be together with some family and to watch the basketball and eat pizza and hang out. It was a good time. That's my one thing.
Nice. Well, mine is I bought a car.
Nice.
Yes. So
what car did you lose?
So my 2009 CRV is no longer part of the family.
Okay.
It was well worn.
Okay.
And time for it to move on to other pastures. So I replaced that with a new Honda Pilot.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Enjoying driving that around town?
Very much so. It's a sweet ride. Ride. Yeah, when we make our road trip to Columbus in May, we can take that for a spin.
Yeah, that'll be great. That'll
Absolutely.
be great.
Yeah. All right, we have talked March Madness. We have talked artificial intelligence and ChatGPT. We have talked Vinko Bogataj. We've talked John watching March Madness with the fam.
Yep.
And we have talked me buying a new car. So I think by definition, we have covered our various and sundry topics. And
I need to go to bed, so we need to wrap this up.
Well, yeah, it's 8:10. Like you're practically ready for bed. Yeah.
The eyes are getting heavy over here. It's dark outside.
Oh goodness. Yes, indeed. Yep. Well, enjoy getting up at 5 a.m., 4 a.m., whenever you normally get up, and just don't call or text me because I. So We've covered our various and sundry topics, and all that's left to say is, until next time, the Lord bless y'all real good.
Later.